Hello, everybody, and welcome to my financial statement analysis part 2. My disclaimer and copyright notice: the information and opinions in this presentation are those of the author only and not the author's employers or affiliated organizations, including but not limited to Irvine Valley College and the South Orange County Community College District. The presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute any legal or accounting advice whatsoever. This presentation is copyright 2008 to 2022 by Bennett Tchaikovsky. All rights are reserved. Any distribution is strictly prohibited. So what we're going to be doing today is we've selected our company. We have been approved for our comparable company, or if you're doing this on your own, you just made one up. But now what we're going to go through and do is we're going to be doing common sized financial statements. This is really for the balance sheet and the income statements only. So why do we use common sized financial statements? And this is going to be giving us an ability to compare two companies that are in somewhat of similar industries. If a company is in, if I take a look at Home Depot and Lowe's, what I will notice is because they are in the same industry, they should have roughly the same percentage of total inventory, receivables, and the like. When we do a common sized financial statement, we're going to be showing balance sheets are shown as a percentage of total assets. Income statements are shown as a percentage of total revenue. When you are taking my class, a very common mistake to see is that a student will use a 10Q and not use the 10K. You want to use the 10K, which is the annual report. Also, too, the one other thing I'm going to say is that Microsoft Excel, and I'm not plugging the amazing instructors we have at Irvine Valley College, Carolina Kasoy, Dr. Rupa Mathur, they are amazing, right? And I need to take their class because my Excel is bad. What's always entertaining to me is the students who have taken their class, Professor Mathur's or Professor Kasoy's class. They're always saying, oh my God, Bennett, you're terrible. This is really painful watching you use Google Sheets. But the ones who have never seen me do it say, oh, wow, Bennett, you're great. Now I'm terrible. You have to make sure that before you're embarking on your career, you take a Microsoft Excel class. You know how to use Excel. I've been told by recruiters before that this is by far the number one most important part before you head into employment. So make sure that you have taken Excel classes before you start working full time. Okay, now what I'm going to do though, before I go through and do this, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a Google Sheet. So I'm going to call this individual paper, Bennett Tchaikovsky, which is me. And then I should probably capitalize my first name. That look a little Bennett Tchaikovsky. That'd be FB and Twitter. Okay, so my first tab, we can go over here. We can say companies chosen. We'll say primary company is Meta Platforms, Inc. This is also on NASDAQ. Their ticker symbol is Facebook for right now. Okay, over here, the comparable company is going to be Twitter, Inc. This is going to be NASDAQ. I think it's TWTR, but we'll find out pretty quickly. What I'm going to do over here is I need to make 4 sheets. I'm going to go over here, balance sheet of Facebook, balance sheet of Twitter, income statement, Facebook, income statement of Twitter. Okay. So now what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to go over here to SEC.gov. When I go to SEC.gov, I'm going to click on company filings. Over here under company and person lookup, there's a couple different things I can do. If I go Twitter stock price, if I do a Google search for that, their ticker symbol is TWTR. I was correct. So right over here, they're basically, it's TWTR. Whoa. Okay. So If I look over here for TWTR, wow, they've been a little bit of a rocky ride. Okay. So we've got over here TWTR. Okay, so that is, sorry about that, everybody. I just, like, when I see the stock price like that, I'm like, wow, okay. So right over here, we're going to go to Twitter. So we'll start over here with Twitter then, TWTR. So Twitter Inc., we're going to go ahead and click on that. Now, if I have over here on, if I have the investor toolkit on, what I will notice, oh, they're on the New York Stock Exchange. Let's change that up. So when I come over here, and if I have the investor toolkit on, this will enable me to go through and view their financial reports pretty much in real time. So if I come over here and I click on this, this will take me to Twitter's 10K. Now, what I could do is I could come over here and say financial statements and supplementary data. And then I could try to copy all this information here. And if I try to paste this, do a copy, paste it. And boy, does that look terrible. Okay, so that's not going to be the way I'm going to want to do it. Because if I just copy that information, that's not going to look good. But fortunately for us, we have another place where we can go through and look. Now, if I come over here and I look at filing, okay, what's going to happen over here is this is the filing that Twitter made with the SEC just this past within the last few days. If I go over here and if I click on interactive data, when I click on interactive data, where I can go to is I can look over here and I can look at view Excel document. When I click on view Excel document, this is going to go ahead and open up a new Excel spreadsheet, which is right over here. Now, when you look at this, now what you could do is I could download this and I could upload it into Google Sheets. Google Sheets gives me that ability to do it. If I'm in Google Sheets, and I'm just going to show you how to do this really quickly. If I'm in over here in Google Sheets, and if I go here to open up the file picker, I can come over here and basically click upload, and I can upload that, and it will take that Excel file and bring it into Google Sheets. I'll essentially create a new file, but I don't necessarily want to do that. So, but instead, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go back over here to my Microsoft Excel document, and I'm going to look for two things. I'm going to look over here. Now, there's a lot of tabs. Okay, there's a lot of tabs. There's way too many. The first thing I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for the consolidated balance sheets. When I come over here for Twitter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this information from the Excel sheet. I'm going to copy and paste it. And now I'm going to come over here to come back over here to my balance sheet for Twitter. And I'm going to paste it over here, and look, lo and behold, for Twitter, it looks actually pretty good. It looked a lot better than what I tried to do earlier. Okay, so over here, notice that my total assets of 14 billion are equal to my total liabilities plus shareholders' equity. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do for Twitter is I'm going to go back over to that. I'm going to go back over to that Excel sheet. And what I'm going to do now is to look for the income statement. Now, what you have to be careful about is when it comes to looking at these different sheets over here on what's being filed with the SEC, is you'll sometimes say, well, Tchaikovsky told us to do an income statement, and all I can find over here is this consolidated statement of operations. This is one and the same thing, right? So this over here is the consolidated statement of operations for Twitter. If you look over here, you'll find something called the consolidated statements of comprehensive income. We don't want that. We want the consolidated statement of operations or income statement. So we're going to go ahead and copy this over. And now I'm going to go ahead and put this over here to my individual paper. Okay. So right over here, I now have my, my income statement. Now, one of the things I would suggest for you to do is to make sure that what I just copied over is in fact correct. When you go onto the 10K, you will generally find the financial statements over here in item 8. When I look down at item 8 and I look here, okay, the assets are 1459,516 as of December 31st. On my balance sheet for Twitter, I had the same dollar amount, so I did that correctly. Instead of my income statement, they call it a consolidated statement of operations. Same thing. My revenue for the year ended December 31st, 2021 was 5 billion. These amounts are in thousands. So right over here, this is roughly about 5 billion. When I come over here to my income statement of Twitter, I'm seeing that that was the number that I went over here and pulled out. So as of this point right over here, I'm good to go in terms of pulling the financial information for Twitter. What I'm now going to do is I'm now going to do the same thing for Facebook or for Meta platforms. I'll eventually get it right. Meta platforms. And we got to get our spot in the metaverse. Okay. So over here, I do not want to file that. I don't want to look at the 10Q. I want to look at the 10K. More importantly, I want to look at the filing document because that's where I'm going to file where I will find the Excel file. So if I come over here to my interactive data, and I look at this interactive data, I'm going to go to view Excel document. And I'm going to go ahead and view this Excel document. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And I'm going to go ahead and share that with you. So here we go. This is going to be for Meta platforms or for Facebook. So let's take a look here. Okay. Audit information. This tells us who the auditors are. First thing we're going to do over here is we're going to go ahead and see we've got the balance sheet over here for Facebook, or excuse me, for Meta platforms. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this over here. Okay, I'm now going to go over here to just give me a moment. I'm going to go over here to my balance sheet for Facebook. I'm going to go ahead and copy this over. So here is my balance sheet, which just got way too big. Undo that real fast. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I've got for Facebook, this is my balance sheet. And as I notice over here, the total assets of Facebook are of 165 billion. And if I just go ahead and look at this, going back to over here, if I'm looking at this in terms of the financial statements, just to make sure that I've actually copied over the right information. When I come down and I look at this and their total assets are 165 billion, 165 billion for total assets. What I now need to do is I need to pull up the income statement for Facebook. So I'm going to come over here. And when I look at the income statement for Facebook, again, they're going to call it something else. Right over here, they're going to go through and call it the consolidated statements of income or operations. So this is basically the income statements. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my income statement for Facebook. I'm going to go ahead and paste this right over here. Okay. So again, have I done this correctly? Let's just pick a number. Cost of revenue for the 12 months ended December 31st, 2021. If I come over here and look up the cost of revenue for the year ended December 31st, 2021 is 22,649,000,000. Okay, so right over here, that's where you get that, oops. That's where you get that number. So it looks like we have done this correctly, at least for the moment. Okay, so we've copied over the financial statements over here, which is great. Now, the next thing we're going to do is that when it comes to doing, we'll go ahead and do the balance sheets first. When I do the balance sheets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show everything over here as a percentage of total assets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 16,601 and I'm going to divide this by total assets of 165,987 billion. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to basically put little dollar signs in front of this. And again, Professor Kasoy is probably laughing at me right now, which you should absolutely be. But I'm just going to go ahead and divide this. If I put the little dollar signs in front of it, what that means, it's going to divide every number here by this value. So this dollar kind of, these dollar signs kind of cement it. Okay, and again, I'm making a total butt of myself, but that's okay. I can do that. So right over, again, I'm telling you, you need to take Excel classes. Okay, so I've now just made the balance sheet for the year ended December, excuse me, as of December 31st or at December 31st, 2021 into a common size percentage. Over here, I'm going to divide everything by total assets for the prior year. Use that little dollar sign. This is why Excel is so important. Okay, so right over here, and why some of you who've taken Excel classes are laughing at me, and I'm glad I'm providing you that entertainment. So over here, that's what I've gone through and I've done. Let's do the same thing with our tweeting. Notice over here, everything is in thousands. Okay, everything here is in millions of dollars. So when we look at the dollar amounts, we just want to kind of keep that in the back of our mind. So over here for Twitter, we're going to do the same thing. Divide everything by total assets. Okay, and once we go through and divide everything by total assets, we should see the 100% down there. And we should also see the 100% at total liabilities and stockholders' equity. We're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to divide everything by total assets and make that value solidified, turn this into a percentage. And we're now in the process of making this common sized. Okay, so once we've gone through and done that for the balance sheets, it's now off to the income statements. But before I get to the income statements, at least for my class, what I want you to go ahead and do is let's get rid of the earnings per share amounts. Those are not necessarily going to be things that we're going to be looking at for purposes of common sized financial statements, because these are showing it in a per share, not in thousands of dollars. Also, that doesn't really apply to us at this point in time. We can always go back and get that information later. So over here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to do all 3 years, but I don't have to. So for this one, I'm going to divide revenue by total revenue. And when I do so, I'm going to make that second value solidified by putting the little dollars on it. So now my total revenue should be 100%. If you have different components of revenue, say if you have one that is like, if this was like 17 billion and then 100 billion, then what I would have you do is say, okay, we'll show these as show everything as total revenue, but you should have at least one number that is showing total revenue. Okay, so gone through and I've done that over here. And then I'm dividing this by the same number. And I want to make sure that this is also, I have my little dollar signs in front of here. And over here, I'm taking this and I'm dividing it by G5. Okay, So we've just made these common sized. If you're taking my class, you only have to do 2 years. I just decided to do this for fun because it was pretty easy to do. Now let's go ahead and take a look over here at our tweeting. So right over here, we're going to divide everything by total revenue. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing over here. This again has to be shown at 100%. And then over here, we're going to have in 2019. We're also going to be showing this also at 100%. Okay, so as we go through and look at Twitter, as I go through and look at Twitter, we can kind of see, again, this is showing it in common size. I'm not opining on anything right now, but again, for the income statement, we're dividing everything by total revenue. For the balance sheet, we're dividing everything by total assets. Once you've completed this, you will have completed this part of the assignment. But this is why going through and doing this can be so extremely important. When we look at Facebook, or when we're going through and looking at Twitter, this can kind of give us an idea in terms of, well, are these companies similar? Well, as I look at this over here, property, plant, and equipment, this is about 34 billion for Facebook, about 14% of total assets for Twitter. Goodwill is about 9% for Twitter. For Facebook, it's about 11.57%. And as we go through and look at the ratios, I'll kind of give you some more insights as we look at these two different companies. But it at least will give us a starting point when we start going through and doing our ratio analysis. So again, if you're taking my class, and if I'm having you do this as part of your project, what are you going to have to do for this? Well, your first step is going to create a Google Sheet. Please share that Google Sheet with me. If you're in my class, I've told you what email address to go through and to use. Once you've chosen your company, what you're going to do next is you're going to go ahead and then look at you're going to basically, copy over the balance sheets, income statements for your company, as well as the comparable company. Make sure that you're using the 10K and not the 10Q. That's happened more than once when I've been going through and grading these. So just make sure that you've done that. And that kind of takes us back over to here. And so we've gone through and we've done this. And then we have finished this part of the project. So we've made the common size financial statements. I'll be doing a video soon that'll be going through and showing us how to go through and to analyze the company. So I want to thank you for watching this video here today, right? A lot of this is going to just be applicable to the students that are in my class. However, if you want to kind of go through and do this on your own, and if you want to share with me your Google Sheet and you're cool with doing it in the comments, please feel free to do so. And I'm more than happy to give you feedback on it. But again, I hope that this can actually help you in terms of going through and doing this very important step of creating common-sized financial statements. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.